Welcome to ProphetChic on this December 19th, just 6 days from Jesus' birthday. Happy Merry Christmas to you. We are in the last seconds of the last days. Don't be scared, be prepared. Distraction is destruction, and so we are going to set our face like a flint to the cross that God has called us to carry every day, to pick up your cross and bear that for the world. Jesus did warn us to be awake, aware, and about the Father's business. Are you ready? First, great news I just returned from Waimea on the big island of Hawaii, where a wave of revival is breaking out. Thank you so much to Imiola Church, which was founded in the 1800s by a very historic Hawaiian who was actually a Haole missionary, Lorenzo Lyons. He established that church. All the other missionaries were going to Hilo and over to Kona. Nobody stopped in the midway point of Waimea except for Mr. Lyons. And the Lord used him to reach over 5,000 Hawaiians. He even hiked into the Kohala valleys and to Waipio Valley. Every Sunday after church, he'd hike down into Waipio Valley, which is a huge hike if you know what that is, and then back up before Sunday evening prayers. If I was hiking into Waipio Valley, I'd live there for a few years. But thank you to Imiola Church, which is an all-Koa church. You got to stop by and see Pastor Kahu David Blevins and his beautiful wife, Mama Kahu Ann. Thank you for your hospitality. Today in news around the world from Bloomberg, Saudi Arabia said its air defenses have intercepted a ballistic missile fired by Yemen rebels at its royal palace in the capital of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. They are an American ally. This attack threatens to edge the kingdom and its nemesis Iran closer to war. As you know, Iran is one of the great powers named in Ezekiel 38, which would be like World War III. Meanwhile, Japan's cabinet approved two ballistic missile defense, adding to its existing two-layer defense against North Korea's growing missile and nuclear threats. The U.S. blamed North Korea for the so-called WannaCry ransomware attacks that hit hundreds of thousands of computers around the world this year. And in further news out of the Associated Press, in a break with 2 decades of military planning, President Donald Trump eliminated climate change from his administration's list of threats to national security. Now, this is a side commentary on that topic. It says, in a break with 2 decades of military planning, see, number one, how the Associated Press writes that up in a slant against the president. But when you really think about it, climate control and climate change is not a threat to the United States of America, as is North Korea, Russia, and the Islamic Republic of Iran, amidst other things, or even our own sin, even our own disobedience and turning our back on Israel. But this is where 2 decades of the last administrations, Barack Obama for 8 years, and then before that, the Bush family. Inconceivable. Moving on. In related news, the World News Daily says that the Obama administration derailed law enforcement targeting drug trafficking by Iran's terrorist group called Hezbollah. They're actually bringing drugs into America, and the Obama administration told them to stand down and let them go ahead and bring in drugs just to secure a nuclear deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran. This even as it was funneling cocaine into the U.S. That's according to a Politico investigation. You're not going to see that on the mainstream media. I had to dig it up on WND, World News Daily. In other news, Russia is set to withdraw military officers from a joint Russia-Ukraine center monitoring a fragile truce in that area of Ukraine, that's Eastern Europe, right next to Russia. Russia's trying to invade, and that area is heavily conflict-torn. Russia accused Ukraine, which is a very small country in comparison to Russia, but Russia accused the Ukraine of preventing its officers from doing their duties. We continue to polarize to war. In other news, the U.S. vetoed a draft UN Security Council resolution rejecting President Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the eternal capital of Israel. U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley slammed the UN, and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu tweeted, "Thank you, Ambassador Haley." At this time, at least at the UN, the United States and Israel are standing alone against the world. In other news and this is the last item from WND, World News Daily, loneliness wrecks your physical and mental health, and they could only study those because they can't study spiritual health. I would argue it also hurts our spiritual health. Loneliness, in fact, in some studies, says it can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. 15 cigarettes a day. That's how bad it is. A recent report showed that 9 million people in the United Kingdom suffer from chronic loneliness. Just the event of being alone or feeling isolated. Please, family, he will never leave us nor forsake us. He will be with us always, even to the ends of the age. The Holy Spirit and Jesus, Emmanuel, born this Christmas. His name means God with us, the great I am. I finish up today's very short ProphetChic update and broadcast with beware and a prayer flare. First, beware the spirit of offense, serious snapping and slamming by 3 Christian sisters in the last 3 days in my own life as they opted out of a relationship. They cut the relationship versus trying to communicate or talk it through. And I can't go into specific detail because I don't want to hurt their feelings any further, ironically, but it was something that was extremely small, blown into a mountain, a molehill made into a mountain. And I am praying for these sisters, reached out to them, and yet spirit of offense is a strong thing, a perceived slight. And I believe the root of that offense is ego and pride. I think part of that is that these people have been offended by father figures in the past and now have a certain amount of displacement and projection of that pain. I couldn't talk to that father figure, and so it's coming out against me and perhaps other people who are safe. Please watch out against that spirit of offense. Armor up, put on the full spiritual armor of God, and practice forgiveness as I am trying to do so as well. So I said, beware, and then finally a prayer flare. We continue to pray for the religious freedom as the Supreme Court of the United States has yet to decide on Baker Jack's rights, and that would affect all religious rights, freedoms for all Americans and people around the world who are impacted by us as leaders, whether you can be forced by the government to do things that would conflict with our faith. As I finish on this beautiful Tuesday, Merry Christmas, God bless you. I'll be back on Thursday. Jesus warned us to be awake, aware, and about the Father's business. Are you ready? Don't get ready, be ready.